I was just thinking then, because you're just thinking like you sponsor them and then you said you go in and you actually help, you teach them and stuff. Obviously me being on Love Island and stuff, I came off Love Island and we get literally, I'm going to say a 5-minute class on.
Yeah.
If you get paid 100 grand, you're going to have to pay like 40,000 in tax type thing.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Move out the
Wow.
That's the next thing.
That's literally it.
Literally it. You get sort of 5-minute thing that's simple, something like that. But when you're actually coming out, you're a little bit like, actually just get me home really in a way. But you should actually, I should try and link you with Love Island. You should actually do a talk to everybody that comes out.
And do you know when?
Talk.
That should be before you go in.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be before we
because
go
you know, it's obviously
Especially because usually on these shows now you have an isolation period. Wouldn't it be great to be educated
What a
in an
time.
isolation period?
Absolutely.
When you've got
Yeah,
no
yeah.
other focuses, usually your phones are taken away from you, and just talk about, well, actually, if this opportunity goes this way, we'd recommend setting up a company. Then you've got corporation tax. You'd have to put it into your personal. You're going to unfortunately get taxed again, but at least be in a
and there'll be a huge point there where you know there would be a what do you know? What questions do you have?
Yeah.
And filling in gaps and just hopefully making people feel comfortable. And if they're comfortable, hopefully they'll make better decisions.
Starting the
or
conversation.
good decisions. Yeah, correct. Yeah, but it should happen before people go in, and it should be more in
We're going
depth.
to put you in contact with them, Wes, definitely.
absolutely.
Let's try and
happy to
sort
do
that out,
yeah.
Because I definitely think that will help and it will change a lot of people, because I do know, fortunately, there's been a lot of lives lost connected to Love Island, and some of them have been
It's really
financially connected
Yeah,
to
and
them.
it's not dissimilar to the football story. You know, in the last 12 to 18 months, really high-profile names like Craig Bellamy announced bankruptcies, and that it's not necessarily. Sometimes it is around, you know, there are bad apples. Let's face it, there are bad apples in every industry. But I think really it does come down to education and spending that time and that shared knowledge, and I think historically our profession, as much as I love it, it has used what it knows against people in terms of, you know, retaining that and you know. Cloak and dagger kind of scenario, whereas really believe the reverse. Just share it.
Like, imagine if you're in high school right now and you've kind of coming out and you see people in certain scenarios, or even with don't really want to touch on it, but OnlyFans and things like that. You see the amount of money and people talking about it and really shouting about it, and they've got £100,000 watch and a £200,000 car and
£100,000
£1 million house, and then people don't want to work and expect that.
Yeah.
And then the people that do work maybe don't understand what they have to do to kind of hold on to it.
Yeah,
if they get it and they're in these financially kind of good jobs, but as you said, not forever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the very few that have that long career.
And I think this is the thing, and this is what we need to like change in education, is like what you've just said, is if you're earning a lot of money, and let's say you've been earning that for 5 years, on the 6th year and onwards, you may not be earning that. And then what do you do? If you continued your life living at the price of what you've been getting you can't keep spending.
Well, if you look at football as an example, if you look below the Premier League, even below the Championship, look at Port Vale as an example. You know,
Port Vale's in League One.
League One,
ninth.
But Nathan as an example, as captain, really amazingly well thought of, really nice people, lovely family. It's a 2-3 year contract, and you know, sport is very physical and very transient. Who knows? You have a bad couple of games. You're not on the team.
Or an
and
injury.
your contract, or worst case, an injury. That that contract's not getting renewed. What you're doing next? And there are loads and loads and loads of stories. And it's not just football; it's related to other things like you know the industry that you're in. There's a huge, massive.
When I started Strictly, it was like I started investing with you. We did the pension side, and I remember the first 2 years before I purchased a flat in London. Like I would refuse to buy Costa Coffee. I was like, I'm not paying £3, which is £5 an hour. I'm not paying £3 for a coffee. I'll
to be fair,
just
Kurt's always said you've been tight, but
but like I saved that money, and like so it meant that like say when you stop or you want to make decisions, you're not your decisions aren't held like a noose around your neck. You're not financially tied to I have to do this or I have to do that. You can actually take a second to breathe and maybe make a better decision because financially you can say I don't need to do this job tomorrow. I need to step back and think what's right for me right now.
Yeah, correct.
And without making them decisions early on. Like, I hate to say it, but probably most of your clients, I would presume, not to be stereotypical, are in towards 50 plus.
Yeah.
Because it's something you can think, I need to get a pension. Oh wait, when I'm already old, I need to start thinking about like my funds or my retirement when I'm close to retirement. It should be thought about, as you said, with the Love Island thing, which I love right now. Speak about it beforehand. Don't think about it at the end. Like what? It makes no sense to do it at the end, but everybody does do it that way.
There is a very common kind of thread of people getting into their 40s, say, and whether it's they say Wes or whoever it is they speak to, it's I've got all these things. I don't know where I stand with them. I don't know what they're worth. I don't know what they mean. And it's kind of, that's...
How often does that conversation come across your door?
That a huge amount. In the last 10 years, loads. Yeah, loads and loads of times. And obviously, we'll come on to the other thing later in terms of why we want to stop that.
Yeah.
And create something that can get there before that. But that it happens a huge amount.
And what do? Do you just sit them down and just kind of, I don't know, get sticky notes out and go, house...
It's
kids,
car, it does
credit cards.
Yeah, I keep using the word, but it does come back to education.
Yeah,
is that first thing is right? Let's have a chat about and how kind of get your knowledge to a point of at least knowing where you stand right now on what the hell it is that you've got and what it means before we even try and impart any knowledge or thoughts or plans for what we can do going forward. It really is about understanding where your position is and what it actually means. I mean, and again, in the UK, every company has a pension. So people have an investment and they have an investment that's for the future. And underneath that, it will be invested. And it is something they can get involved in, get active in. But
on Strictly,
people just don't.
Did you have this on some of your shows, Curtis? On Strictly, when I was doing the contracts, I was able to pay into a workplace pension. Must have only been, they matched it like in pennies, like it was nothing, but it'll be something in the future, I'm sure. I have no idea what it is.
No, the only time I did something like that was when I worked in the kitchens and I could pay into a pension.
That was we have something called auto enrollment now, which means the employer has to put you into a pension scheme.
Yeah.
And again, with that, you have to contribute 5%. They can contribute anything from 4% upwards.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, you've got to do it anyway. You're working for them.
Do your
and
team
they give you
do
4%?
It?
Absolutely, yeah. Every single person's opted in, yeah. And you've then got what is essentially free money because your employer's putting into it. But I think,
does that benefit you as a company or not? Like you as a company, does the government help towards that, or is that
the government helps towards that? But that benefits the member, the kind of the beneficiary or the employee, however you want to look at it. From a company perspective, pension contributions come off your top line, so they do save your corporation tax. Yes, absolutely. Which is why SMEs, pensions is a huge part of the wealth management idea and advice, and you'll hear about it a lot because it's logical, it makes sense. But even with that, when you've got employers that have got 5% of their salary is going into something, and their employer's giving them an extra 4%, which is essentially free money because it's not their salary. Understand what it is. I really want people to understand what that is and know what it is and what the hell it means and where it's invested and
what you can do with it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
one thing I spoke to you about.
Yeah.
We put a good amount into pension year one because Mum was like, Mum was literally like, you put it into the pension now. And I was like, I don't want to put this much in. She was like, you put it in now because you never know. And I was like, okay. But one thing that we went through.
I'm still trying to recruit you, Mum.
Yeah. No, I think she's on board. We'll talk about that later. But in that SIP pension, I was like, okay, well, my money's trapped. I can't do anything with it. I was like, in my head, I was like, it's in a lockbox and I can't touch it till I'm 60 or whatever it is. But then you were like, well, no, actually, that can be used once you slowly build it up to, if you wanted to, say, purchase, what was it, a small... for example, property.
So what can you get with your pension?
So I mean, one of the things that's really useful for people like business owners and people like you and me is this place. For example, is owned within my pension.
Yeah.
So yes, part of my personal pension planning is done with strategies and portfolios invested, but this is also owned within my pension. So what that effectively means to me is that whoever is in here, it happens to be my company, but whoever is in here pays rent. That rent goes into my pension.
Yep.
But I can still contribute to that pension too. So I can, for want of a better expression, double up if that makes sense. I'd like to think this grows in value, but because it's inside a pension wrapper, whatever it grows in value by is tax-free because it's in a pension wrapper.
Yeah.
And yes, I can't access it until I'm 50, it'd be 57 for me, I think. 57.
Yeah, I'll be 75 by that point. It keeps changing.
Your personal one's currently 57, but it might change by the time we get there. A lot younger than me.
We'll access ours once we've been killed.
Let's hope not. But ultimately, that's going to grow free of tax, and it's always going to be an asset. And even if Iron Market and the Net Worth Network weren't in here, somebody else could be in here and generating that return. And that's a real good thing for business owners, because a lot of business owners have business premises. Might not be offices, might be a factory, might be a warehouse, might be an engineering firm.
Photo booth, whatever the hell it is. There's every little tiny little coffee shop,
recording studio.
like whatever it is.
Yeah, recording studio.
Podcast studio, Kurt. That's what we need to get.
Well, we've just helped one of our members, Dave, who's a good friend, who you met at the golf day, actually.
Yes.
And does one of our videos, who owns an entertainment agency. We've just helped him with him and his wife's pensions, put those together to buy his premises, which is a mixture of offices, but mostly recording studios.
Yeah, because that podcast studio.
Well, I consistently, I love to
do the reels and different things like that.
Different opportunities and businesses and like always look in London, like random quirky little space. I'm like, actually, that'd be cool to kind of like a little rapping studio in the back for the cars. Podcast studio.
But just to clarify, you can't buy residential.
Absolutely not. No,
it has to be
commercial.
Commercial. Yeah.
Kurt's living in the car in the garage.
It's very interesting. I mean, you can do things like land, and actually, at the moment, we've been asked to look into one which is a mooring for a boat.
Okay,
So very interesting. Yeah, and again, some trustees are okay, some are not. So, the mooring itself. Yeah, as a piece of valued land.
Is that working out, or is that?
We don't know yet. So it depends on how the trustees feel. So
the trustees, as in the people that own like the main pension?
As in the pension company, for want of a better expression.
We've got the gardens are back. Oh wait, no, he's nearly done. No, he's cutting the edge. We may have to pause for a second.
We could ask him to move on.
We could ask it.
So Wes just doesn't keep a clean interior, he keeps a clean exterior.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We come on the grooming day.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about the pensions though, I know you said like corporate businesses and the kind of spaces. I'm just intrigued from my own personal. What about watches?
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, not so much. I mean, I understand the question because as an asset,
it's a solid asset these days.
High-end
artwork
kind of watches. Artwork, both technically should be able to.
Technically,
but finding a pension trustee with that kind of appetite,
right? Yes,
is challenging.
Well, we can look for that.
I feel like this is an ask. This is an incoming request.
If you've got friends in the know and you get the allocation on a very good watch, before it goes to like after market value, that's I've made $100,000.
Handbags. Think of like
that Hermes bag.
Yes, Mini Kelly. If you can get invited to buy
I may have just got my wish. My wish of a Mini Kelly, and that Mini Kelly is
really
$6,500.
Good Lord!
But resale is 20 plus.
Wow,
which is crazy.
That is crazy.
That absolutely is mental.
Yeah. The challenge is, of course, if you're
can't put that into pension.
What a pension is for is ultimately to provide, technically, if you think about it, to provide an income for when you retire.
Yes.
I'd have to rent the watch out then, wouldn't
I? And that's where they would be, ultimately looking at it. Similar argument with commercial property.
So actually, just thinking about that with that bag. So that bag, let's say it's 6, like you said, and then you do. If you did buy that through your pension, then you sold it straight away.
But you can't take money out of pension. It doesn't work that way, Curtis. This is how the education helps.
Well, no. What you would do, I mean, this is purely hypothetical.
I like a hypothetical conversation.
Half regretting this is recorded, but no, it's fine. I'm not committed to this. But ultimately, if it was a bag that you bought for 6.5 and you sold for 20, what it would mean if it was in a pension is that you wouldn't pay any tax on that growth.
Oh. Yes.
It would have to stay in the pension.
When you could touch that when you are 57,
when you
take, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why you would do it. That's why you would buy an asset through your pension. That's why you invest in stocks through your pension or portfolios, because they grow free from tax. Yeah.
And then when you access
same with commercial property, hence the benefits.
Okay. No, I'm really excited. We've been talking for a good hour now. Which
I think that's really good to know. Just
it's
that
really
simple
good
thing,
to know.
people will love
Yeah,
that.
no,
Because
no,
people
absolutely.
think you get a pension. Like,
It's
oh,
Boring,
don't
isn't
touch
it?
it.
Yeah. It's not boring.
Yeah.
It's
This place
exciting.
isn't boring.
Everyone's jumping on a pension now. Well, Wes is the man, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Come to me with bags.
bags, watches.
It's still a no.
Vintage cars.
I'll just send that back then. But
300 SL Gullwing. Perfection there. Just before you go anywhere, we just want to say thank you very much to listening to Freedom Impact Trust. We love your reviews, so please do leave them because it helps other people find us, doesn't it, Curtis?
yes, it does. As AJ said, comment, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, share it with the entire world. Let everybody know that this is the podcast that you guys are listening to. And jot down some comments of any financial advice that you want or any questions. We'll be happy to answer all of them at the best of our knowledge. Thanks again for listening, guys. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we love you all.
Yeah, we just want to thank our sponsors, Fint, the financial investment app, where you can invest from as little as £50 a month. Yes, Curtis, £50 a month. So easy.
I like it. And don't forget that it's all within 3 portfolios. Simplicity. It's easy. Get investing, guys.
Have a great day.
See you later.